my rule is if you bite it, you write it. I want you to start being mindful of what you are putting in your body. And then at the end of the day, you also say, how was I feeling this today? Like what did my body do?
Welcome to the Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast, the podcast for high achievers who want to stay sharp, focused, and full of energy despite their diagnosis. With your host, National Board Certified Functional Medicine Health Coach, Julie Michelson, where Julie helps you take your power back from autoimmunity. And now here's your host, Julie Michelson.
Welcome back to the Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast. I'm your host, Julie Houghton, and today we're joined by Jessica Faulds, who was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis at 15 years old, a moment that completely reshaped her life. After years of navigating treatments, doctors, and the emotional roller coaster of chronic illness, she underwent a stem cell transplant at age 27 that successfully stopped the progression of her MS. Through it all, she discovered how powerful nutrition, movement, and lifestyle can be in supporting the body through complex health challenges. Today, she works as a holistic nutrition coach and fitness instructor, helping others navigate chronic illness, autoimmune conditions, hormonal changes, and neurodivergence with realistic, science-based strategies. Her mission is simple: to show others that while we may not choose our diagnosis, we can absolutely choose how we show up for our health, our bodies, and our lives. In today's conversation, we are talking about the power of a positive mindset and how we can support our healing with nutrition and movement when we tune in and listen to our bodies.
Jess, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited for you to share your journey with listeners. I know this is going to be a great conversation, but the whole reason we do the podcast is for inspiration, and you have an amazing autoimmune healing journey.
Yeah, it's been a long 19 years, I would say.
Yeah. So share with us a little bit of, because you're so young. Oh, for people watching on video, they're like 19 years.
I do get that a lot. So I'm in my 19th year being diagnosed with MS. And then I get the looks where people are like, but how old were you when you were diagnosed? And so I was diagnosed when I was 15. I'm in my 19th year. Basically what happened was the one day I woke up and my left eye had stopped moving. And so my right eye was fine. My left eye was frozen in place. I hid it from my mom for about a day. My dad was away that weekend. He was out training, but I hid it from my mom that day. And then at the dinner time, she noticed it. I was out for dinner with her and my grandparents and my sister. And my mom said to my grandparents, "Can you take Rachel home? I'm taking Jess to the hospital." And that was kind of the start of the entire journey. We went to the hospital. Ironically, the song Double Vision by Foreigner came on as we were driving to the hospital. And my mom was kind of like, this describes you right now, doesn't it? And that started my long journey. And it's been quite the roller coaster from there. When we did go to the hospital that day, they actually told me I had a lazy eye. They said my eye was tired. And they said, if it's not fixed by Monday, go to an eye doctor. So, I mean, clearly I'm here, so it wasn't fixed by Monday. So then Monday I went to an eye doctor who told me that I was either diabetic or I had a brain tumor. Just blurted it out, 15 years old, sitting in a dark exam room. And then we ended up going to my family doctor who got me into Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto. I had an MRI within kind of 2 weeks, and they had said, we're 90% confident that you have MS. So at 15 years old, I was sitting there with my parents. They said, we're 90% confident that you have MS. But by definition, MS is multiple. So you have to have more than one incident, or you have to show that it progresses. So they said, we're going to have you come back in 3 months and we'll do another MRI and we'll just keep monitoring you and see if something else happens. So I went back 3 months later. I had another MRI. And my lesions in my brain had progressed. So they were able to say, yep, 100% sure you have MS. And that started my entire journey. So for the last 19 years, I've been on 4 different disease-modifying therapies. I failed off of all 4 disease-modifying therapies. 6 years ago, I underwent, as part of a study, a complete stem cell transplant for my MS. So that is an autologous hematopoietic stem cell transplant, which was a journey in itself. The first part of the stem cell transplant was actually preserving my fertility because I was only 26 at the time.
Okay.
So we're like, we're going to preserve some eggs. They did say that there was a 90% chance based on the treatment that I was going to go through that I was going to go into ovarian failure, menopause. So the first step was to preserve some eggs and my fertility. And then I did a single round of chemo, which was so much fun. And then I was given shots every day. They're called GCSF shots, and those are designed to pull your stem cells from your bone marrow into your blood so we can harvest them easily. So I did those shots for 5 days. And then I went to this room. I went in on the 5th day and they said, your counts are high enough, we can harvest. And I went into this room with this very burly tattooed man. He was also doing a harvest that day. And he compared the GCSF shots for him to being shot. He said he was in so much pain. He was in the fetal position. And he said to me, he's like, oh, you're such a young little girl. How did you do it? And I felt terrible. I told him, I said, I ran 7K this morning.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I want you to share that part with listeners. You, through this whole journey, fitness has been almost like an outlet for you, but you have stayed really physically active.
yes, very physically active. Like I said, that morning I ran 7K. After my first round of chemo, my dad and I actually woke up the next morning and I ran 5K with him. We called it for a while. I was running on chemo. I am a personal trainer. I am a group fitness instructor. Currently, I teach anywhere from 7 to 10 classes a week. And that includes me doing the workouts while I'm
Sure.
teaching. So I was like, he described this whole weekend as being like, he's like, I was in so much pain. It was so terrible. And I got to hang out with him for the day because the harvest takes about 6 hours. You're hooked up to a dialysis machine and they're harvesting my stem cells. And so I got to hang out with him for the day. And he was asking me questions. And his experience was completely different from mine. I had a little bit of pain in my feet. I was eating well. I was working out constantly. But once they did the harvest, then I got a break. I am allergic to what they clean you with at the hospital. So they actually had to take the port out of my chest because I was having such an allergic reaction to when they had put it in. So I got kind of like a 3-week break. My parents then drove across the country so that they could be with me because I lived 3,600 kilometers away from them. And then it was the start of 11 rounds of chemotherapy in 8 days.
Wow.
In 8 days.
So basically they were wiping out your immune system so that you could almost just start over.
Yeah, the goal of the chemo is to just bring you down to nothing. And my example to show, like I had no white blood cell count at that point, but my example to show just how they bring you down so far. So for platelets, they came in, I think, on day 2 and said, you're not allowed to floss your teeth anymore. And I said, why not? And they said, because you will bleed out. They said your platelet count, they're like anything below 50 and you're not allowed to floss your teeth. Your platelet counts are too low. And I said, okay, deal. I will just brush my teeth. And then a couple days later, they came in and they said, we want to give you a blood transfusion, but we don't have your blood type. So I have a rarer blood type. They're like, we don't have your blood type. So we want to give you, I'm A negative. They're like, we want to give you A positive. So we're going to give you A positive with a drug that prevents any reactions from happening. And I was like, that doesn't sound fun. So what if we didn't do that? What's the worst? And they said, well, your platelet count right now is 4.
Wow.
So you don't have platelets. So it would be this could be very bad for you. So I said, I will take the blood. Thank you. Sounds great.
That's my word because
Yeah.
this is not a treatment that, as far as I'm aware, and I did some research and I don't think this treatment is available in the United States. You're in Canada.
No,
How are you doing now?
So it is in Canada. I did my treatment in
Right, but I'm
Canada.
saying here in the States,
It is, but it is still a study. So like
Gotcha.
I was patient 5 in Calgary to do it.
Okay.
The treatment did start in 2007 in Ottawa, Ontario. But it's still not done. It's a last resort. So like I said,
Gotcha.
I failed off of 4 treatments, so it is a last
Right.
resort.
Well, and I'm guessing part of it too is that you were so young
Yeah.
that, it made you a good candidate because,
Yeah, the younger you are when you do the stem cell, the better it works. They actually have an age cutoff. So once you, I
Okay.
think, hit 40 or 50, I can't remember, they just won't do it anymore.
Okay.
Because it is, and it's also because it's so, like, I had to pass a lung test, a heart
It's
test, a
it's
physical, a
physically rough
mental. It
treatment.
is very physically rough. But I did have the unofficial fastest recovery that my doctors have seen. So I got my
Sure.
stem cells back on July 18th, 2019. It was a very anticlimactic moment. They just come in, they wheel them in. It takes about 20 minutes. Your stem cells are back, and then
After
it's
all
done.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, this is all that's, and then it's done. And since that day, so I was back in the gym within 2 weeks. But since that day, I have had no relapses. I've had no progression. I've had symptoms that I had I had before have gone away. So I still have some residual side effects, but for the most part, I am essentially living a life that is free of MS at this point.
Amazing. Amazing. They kind of dismissed you a little bit, right? They were like, okay.
They have, like, I don't even, so I still have specialists. Like, I have my
Sure.
neurologist. I see my neurologist every year. What he's doing right now is he's pushing out my MRIs. So I used to have, like, when I was a kid, I would have like 2 MRIs a year, and then it was 1 MRI a year. And now I'm every 2 years. And he said once we reach like 10 years, it'll be every 3 and then every 5. So they're pushing
Perfect.
out the MRIs.
Nice.
But I do still have a neurologist. I'm not followed by a hematologist anymore. So I'm not followed by my stem cell doctors. I do have a hormone specialist, but other than that, it's just checkups. It's mostly just,
Yeah.
we're going to check in on you. How you doing? And
Amazing.
no more
And
MS.
so what do you attribute, I threw in a little bit of my opinion there, which I shouldn't have done, but I can't help myself. That you were able to manage, and some of it, as you mentioned, is age, but you were able to not only manage the treatment, but I think there's such a tendency in today's world to, look for that pill, that shot, that IV, the whatever that's going to fix autoimmunity or fill in the blank, really anything going on. I look at how you live and I look at your lifestyle. So share with listeners a little bit of what are the things that you attribute your success?
Yeah. So I'm with that person. I'm a mix of, I love the medicine. So I've always been like, what is the newest medicine? What is the newest treatment? What can I do? So I've been very aggressive on that front. But I do come from a family. My dad is an Ironman. My sister is a professional triathlete. My grandfather is a fantastic athlete. So I came from a family where when I was young and I was diagnosed, my parents sat me down and they said, we don't care what you do, but you have to do something. And so I took the time to figure out what I love. I love boxing. I teach cycle 3 times a week. I live in Calgary, so I go hiking through the mountains as often as I can. I do strength training. So I am someone who I am training for fitness anywhere from 6 to 10 times a week between what I teach and the workouts that I do for myself. So when I was in university, I have a degree in health science, and then I have a degree in nutrition and dietetic sciences. And then I took my holistic certification because when I did my nutrition degree, it was just the Canadian Food Guide mostly. And I don't,
And you know a lot more. Right.
Yeah, I don't follow the Canadian Food Guide. So I got tired of justifying my diet compared to the Canadian Food Guide. But I do follow, I'm basically essentially vegan. I'm plant-based, completely plant-based. And I've been very in tune listening to my body and what my body tells me it needs. When I was going through the chemo, I just remember, and I was talking to my mom about this the other day. She doesn't remember doing this. I said, Mom, do you realize that I did not eat a single hospital meal when I was in the hospital?
Yeah.
That I would call my mom up every morning and I'd say, this is what I want. And she would make me the meal. And they were all plant-based. They're all vegetarian. And I was listening to my body and what I wanted. And so I studied nutrition for 10 years, and that was my way of healing myself. because to this day I live a very plant-based life. I make all our food from scratch in our house. We do have a chocolate drawer that my partner loves, and I do love my vegan Lindors. But for the most part, I eat a very plant-based whole foods diet. And my neurologist even says, he's like, I think your recovery was from your diet and your exercise. And he even asked me, he's like, can I give your card to people that I'm wanting to get more plant-based?
Well, and even just talking to you, I mindset has so much to do with healing and wellness. And so don't don't discount that part of it, is that you're positive and you're looking, you're an active participant in your own life, which sounds silly to say.
Yeah.
We all should be, but really, I mean, your mindset, your outlook, your attitude has so much to do with wellness and healing. And so I just want listeners to understand, having the advantage of the opportunity that this is the second conversation I've gotten to have with you. I know that you're like a ray of sunshine. Doesn't mean, I mean, do you ever have a bad day where
So I did. So when I was actually going through the stem cell, I documented everything. I had an Instagram that I was using at the time. I don't have the Instagram anymore, but I showed the good. So I had me like laughing in the hospital. I had me walking, or like every morning I would wake up and you're not allowed to bring the chemo around the hospital. So before they started the chemo, I would push my little IV pole and play Pokemon Go with my dad outside because I was just going insane in this room. But I also showed pictures of me like in the fetal position crying when
So attitude, let's talk about you. You obviously not every day, especially through your journey, and all of us humans, nobody has a great day every single day anyway, but you've been through some really hard stuff. Do you attribute any bit of your, ability to overcome as mindset, attitude, intention?
Yeah. Like I said, when the day that I got sick and my mom and I were driving to the hospital and Foreigner came on, it was double vision, and my mom went, "This kind of describes you right now." And it was such a funny moment, but it has been my entire journey through everything. Is I will have bad days. And during my stem cell transplant, like I actually documented it and I showed people the highs where I was like, "At the stem cells and this is happening," and but I also shared pictures of me, like, in the fetal position crying in the hospital, or, like, shared how nauseous I was going through chemo, and so I shared all the good, the bad, the ugly. Uh, but for my entire life, my parents and I have always just had this mindset where, like, it could always be worse. And, like, allow yourself to feel sad, but then when I was sad, my mom would come into the hospital and we'd have meals together. My dad would come in and we'd do dad jokes, and when I was recovering, he would take me for runs. We would watch the Graham Norton show
Yeah. Laughter.
and just laugh our way through it. And
Yeah.
when I was going through the stem cell, if something could go wrong, it would go wrong. Like I had my line blow 4 times. I had like an IV go at 4 in the morning. I'm allergic to stuff at the hospital, so I was having reactions. Like if it couldn't go wrong, it'll go wrong with me.
Gotcha.
But we kind of are just like, well, it is what it is. On to the next. Let's laugh through it. Because at one point I did a treatment and I ended up with Legionnaire's disease and in the ICU for like 2 weeks. And we're just like, my dad's just like, don't get West Nile and we'll be good.
If it can, it will.
And if it can go wrong, it will.
Well, and I definitely think, I remember when I first started coaching, mindset, I would get to mindset with my clients. I knew that was important. And it took some experience with coaching to realize that, like, oh my gosh, we have to start with mindset, and then all the rest of the things, will just exponentially work better, faster, more powerfully. So good for you for just, and it sounds like your family, you were just raised that way, right? Like,
Yeah. Like my dad is, I mean, sometimes I think he does things he probably shouldn't, but like he's pulled a hamstring during a race and he's like, I'm just gonna hobble through to the finish line and I'll still finish it. And the next one will be better. And we were just raised with that, like, stuff's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
And you can't panic. And I'm walking proof of that. Like, I got MS at 15. I did enter ovarian failure, so I hit menopause at 27.
Yeah.
And that was a journey in itself. And then I got ADHD. I was told about my ADHD at 30.
It took them that long to notice? No.
Well, it depends. So nobody, like, everybody, but when I did finally meet the doctor who officially gave me the diagnosis, she's like, I can tell by the way you tell a story. I was like, I don't know what that means, but sure.
I'm just me.
Yeah. And then when I told people, they're like, I just figured you knew. And I was like,
They were the last one to know.
I was the last one to know.
That's, you know what, which is fantastic, you know? So I want to touch on, because you said something so key, and there's so much gold for listeners to get from you sharing your story, but if they get nothing else, I want everybody to just remember that you said you're in tune with your body and your body tells you what you need. So that means, for those that are listening, it doesn't mean you need to go out and run 7 miles every day if that's not where your fitness right now. You know, I'm guessing, even though exercise has always been such a big part of your life, that even with exercise, that means there's some days you should train a little more gently.
Yeah. I did. So I always joke. I teach cycle class. I love it. And I cover for people all the time. So the one time I got a little overexcited and I signed up to teach 4 cycle classes in 36 hours.
Oh, not a good idea.
And by the end of it, I was like, I didn't think this through because I live in a 4-level split. So I have to get 3 rows of like flights of stairs to get up to my bedroom today. But it is being so active. I am hyper aware and I try to listen to my body. So I will say, after teaching those 4 classes in 36 hours, I was like, I'm not going to do anything the next day, even though it was technically, I have a run day. Tuesday, Thursdays, I run. I was like, I'm just not going to run tomorrow. I'm just going to call it. And it's the same with, I do food. Like, I truly believe, like, my body craves food based on what it's missing. Like, this summer I got a craving for zucchini and I was like, I need more green vegetables. This is what it's telling me. And so I went out and bought zucchini, but I'd really listened to, and especially as I was going through the chemo, it was, what does my body want? Like, if I'm having a craving for food, what is my body telling me that it wants to eat right now? Because it's hard to eat on chemo.
And we're talking about real, you already said it, but I'm just underscore, real whole foods, not ultra processed crap that is, you know, addictive by nature, intention.
Yeah, it's like if I'm craving Sour Patch Kids, I'm like, I'm just craving sugar. This is not a healthy choice. But I will get, I kind of remember, I went to Germany when I was, it was in 2016. So it was 9 years ago. So I was in my mid-20s. And Germany was fantastic. Would love to go back. 100%. Absolutely love it. It would probably be a bit harder for me now because I don't eat meat. But while I was there, what I noticed was the food where I was eating, it was very heavy potatoes. Potatoes. And they didn't really do salads. Like, it wasn't, stuff didn't come with a salad or like vegetables. And so when I got home, my mom's like, what do you want? Like, what should we make for food? And I was like, I just want some broccoli. I want some broccoli and some pepper. And I was like, so when I'm talking, like, there are times that I crave potatoes. There are nutrients in potatoes that you want. But I'll be like, I really want my minestrone soup. And I know more.
As a win, it was such a win for me as a mother. My daughter was a competitive equestrian through high school, and we would travel a lot. And I remember the first time we got home, where she was like, oh my gosh, I just need more vegetables. And we ate as well as we could while we were on the road. But I was like, it's working.
Yeah. My mom said her biggest win was my sister and I would come home from school, and instead of reaching for like chips, like a pop, we would be like, can I have an apple? I'm really and I went to a friend's house and they're like, what would you like for a snack? I said, I just want an apple. And her mom was like, what? Are you okay? And I'm like, you don't want? And I said, no, I'm craving apples right now. And like, I have so many apples in my house right now because to this day, I'll probably eat 2 to 3 a day. My partner eats a couple of apples a day. We love apples. And it is apple season here right now, so we get some really nice fresh Canadian apples. But it's listening to my body, and my body craves fruit and vegetables and like beans and lentils and whole foods. My body will tell me what it is wanting.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and that takes for those listeners that are, closer to the beginning of their journey, it does take time. I really do believe most of us had at least some whispers of symptoms before we were aware, right? Because
Yeah.
we stopped listening to our body. And so it is a skill. It takes time to tune back in. And as you move toward a more whole food based diet, to understand what really does the body need and what is just a craving from poor food choices. They're different.
They are
Yeah.
very different, and it does
Yeah.
take time. Like I said, I have been on my fitness journey and my health journey for 19 years. It's been about 15 years since I started actually studying it and listening to my body. I did have those rebellion teenage years, like the first couple years was like, I'm going to be a normal teenager and I'm going to eat the Cheetos.
Right.
But at 19 is when I was like, okay, no, I
Actually.
would take this a little seriously. And so if you go, that's 14 years of me learning how to listen to my body, which is very handy now.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But it takes time. Especially if you're living off like a lot of processed food now, you're going to stop that food and your body is still going to crave it. Your body's going to be like, I want those Sour Patch Kids really badly.
Right.
Right.
Do you have tips for listeners of like how they can start? Because it can be overwhelming and so often those of us that have been eating real food for years, and people are always shocked. They're like, "What? You used to eat?" I'm like, "Yeah, I used to do all the things." But any tips for just how to start with little steps or where to start?
Yeah, my biggest tip for when people are kind of wanting to start listening to their body and what their body is doing is actually to get a notebook. Um, and so what I always tell when I work with like nutrition clients, I'll tell them, I said, my rule is if you bite it, you write it. So it's not
Love that.
tracking calories. Like I said, I don't care what the calories are. I don't care. But I want you to start being mindful of what you are putting in your body. So if you bite it, you write it, you put it down. And then at the end of the day, you also say, how was I feeling this today? Like what did my body do? And so then you start tracking it. And sometimes what'll happen is maybe you have, and I'll say this from experience, because sometimes I had a vegan pizza a couple weeks ago. I had this really good, delicious vegan pizza that I was just craving. And I said, you know what, let's treat ourselves. Let's get some vegan pizza. And the next day I had heartburn. And my partner was like, oh, Jazz, you're almost 35, man. Like, as I'm 33, he's like, this is a sign you're over 30. You're getting your heartburn. But there was something in that pizza that was probably giving me heartburn. And so I was able to say, hey, I had this vegan pizza. This is the pizza that I had. And the next day I had heartburn. And
what I love about that is it doesn't mean that you have to choose to never have that pizza again, but it's going to be, it's empowering, right? Then you can choose, well, what do I have tomorrow? Is it worth the heartburn?
Is it worth it? Is it worth the heartburn?
Yeah.
And it's also looking at like maybe next time I have the pizza and I don't have heartburn. So it's like, okay, what did I have with the pizza? Like maybe there was something, and it's just being like your body will tell you what it is feeling. You just have to start really listening to your body. So you have to, and that's why I say write it down. Like, did you feel tired that day? Did you have heartburn? Did you have a hard time sleeping? Like sometimes whatever you eat and then you try and go to bed, you're like, you weren't sleeping.
Yeah.
So you track that and then you can start drawing those correlations and then you become more mindful of it as you're moving through.
That's such good advice. And I promise I will credit you, but I am definitely going to quote if you bite it, you write it.
Yeah. If you bite it, you write it.
And I love that you added, it's not about the because I still, depending on, I think with younger people, maybe not, with people my age and above, there's still this like calories, it's about the cat. And I'm like, no, it's not. Avocados have tons of calories. Eat as many of them as you want. Like,
It's one of the biggest things. I always tell people, I was like, I find like if you have specific weight loss goals, it is like you might want to be mindful of like what you're eating for calories. But for general health, my body's telling me what it wants. I don't like tracking calories because I feel people get really hung up on it.
And from experience, I see even clients who they think their goal, their main goal for themselves is weight loss. Mine is, reduced inflammation and feeling well.
Yeah.
And when they're eating real whole foods, listening to their body, eating, not eating things they're sensitive to et cetera, the weight will come off anyway.
It does. And it's like if you're eating those whole foods and you're getting something that's balanced in like fiber and protein, you're not gonna be the same hungry as if you were eating a bag of chips.
Yeah.
So it does work. It all works out in the end. I will, like, if people really want to know, like when I'm in the meal plans, I say I can give this to you with the nutrition or without. It's your choice.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of people, I myself included, I find it triggering.
Yeah.
And also I find a lot of people don't know how to estimate the calories. People either overestimate or underestimate, and it's just, so it's like if you bite it, you write it, have an idea. Are you having 3 fruits a day? Are you having your vegetable servings per day? Like, are you eating the good things that your body needs?
Yeah. And I think that's so key. And I love the tracking of, not only what, because that is sometimes, especially a lot of my clients have food sensitivities, by the time they find me, and I'm sure you're same thing.
No.
And those can take a day or two to like, it's not that same, like you said, you had heartburn the next day from the pizza, not right after eating it, right?
Yeah.
So that can be really hard to even remember. People think they're going to remember, what did I eat 2 days ago? You're not. If it's written down, but in a way where you're holding it lightly and you're not, again, getting triggered by tracking. It's just, it can be really helpful to be able to look back.
Because it can be weeks. Like I spoke to a woman once and she was having milk every single day and she was having a lot of arthritis pain. And I spoke to her and I said, I want you to stop the milk. I said, I need you to stop the milk. And she's like, well, I've never had a problem with milk in the past. I said, but if you're having something every single day and it's just raising those levels just slightly, I said, I need you to stop the milk. And it took a while, but we cut out a couple things. And then I said, it can be weeks. It can like be build up for months before you start having this reaction. But it is that it is still a reaction.
The inflammation can be cumulative. And so I get that all the time, but I've been blah, blah, blah my whole life for years. Even I'm like, I'm rewind. Yeah. Not picking on milk. My family was in the dairy business. If I were to have milk or dairy, like cow dairy, I too would end up with joint pain again.
It's everybody's different, and it is learning, like that's what. And sometimes I'll work with people and say, hey, we're gonna do like an elimination diet, so we're gonna remove the main triggers, which is dairy and gluten, and maybe we'll take out nightshades, we'll take out all these foods, and it's hard. Like it is hard to do an elimination diet, but once you kind of get down to baseline, then it's like we can add some things back in and see which one is it that triggers you, because what triggers me doesn't necessarily trigger you.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I think of it kind of like how they took your immune system down to nil,
Nothing.
right?
Yep.
Like you got to clear that playing field in order to get the information when it comes to foods and things. What about with exercise? For people that are fairly sedentary, where do you have people start? Because again, it's that movement is so important. Would you have recommendations?
I always tell people to start slow, and not compare themselves to anybody. So yeah, I ran 7 kilometers the morning before I did my harvest, or like the stem cell, the bone marrow harvest. But I worked with people and I've said, hey, your goal is to walk to the end of your driveway today.
Right.
Like it is. Yeah. What is your goal? What can tell me where you're at right now. You're not doing anything. Your goal is to get out and go for a 5-minute walk 3 times a day. And then let's bring it up. It's 10 minutes. It's 20 minutes. My mom is one of my favorite examples. I teach cycle. At the YMCA every Saturday. I volunteer and I teach cycle, and my mom comes to my class every Saturday. And my mom is really learned how to listen to her body, and she is very sassy sometimes. So she
I
was
can't
away.
imagine where you get that
Mhm.
from.
She's so sassy. But she was away for 7 weeks because they went back home to Ontario and they did a drive. And so she was away for about 7 weeks, and she came back recently. And my class, I always end with a max wattage push. So max wattage push is when you are on the bike on a very sticky gear and you are trying to get your wattage up as high as possible. It's one of the most difficult sessions of the cycle class. And my mom was just in the back of the class and she was like, no. And so she did. She was like, I ain't doing that today. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's fine. And I tell people, even when they come to my cycle class, I said, I'm going to tell you what to do. And it is up to you what gear you want to put on, how hard you want to go. It is your workout. It's your body. So I'm going to give you a recommendation. When I first got back into boxing after my stem cell transplant, I did every other song. So I still went to the class, but I did
Love it.
every other song.
Yeah.
And it's just finding what is your starting point, and it is okay if that is just walking to the end of your driveway.
Yeah. It's more
Right.
than okay. I
It
have
is more than
a
okay.
client who she lives about an hour and a half away. And when I first met her and started working with her, she wouldn't walk to her mailbox by herself. And now she's like the Energizer Bunny. It is amazing. So just start where you are and build from there. And like you said, listen to your body. And I love you just gave everybody permission. I think a lot of people do classes because they push harder in a class. But remember, if you need to modify, adjust,
Hmm.
pause.
Like I did a class this morning. I modified, because I went and took a class for my own person training. And I said that one exercise doesn't work for me. I'm not comfortable jumping up on that box, not with the symptoms with MS that I've had over the 20 years. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to step up and I'm going to modify it for myself.
Love it.
And it's you work with what you can do and you start with where you are. And comparison is the thief of joy. So don't ever look at anybody else and say, well, that person is doing this. I should be able to.
I love that. Comparison is the thief of joy. We're at the part where listeners, I mean, you've already given us all of this gold. What is this? Because listeners know I always end with one thing that they can do starting today. You can repeat because you've already given us, or an opportunity for you, open opportunity. One thing people can do starting today to support their healing journey.
Eat more vegetables.
Yeah.
I would just say eat more vegetables. That's always what I start people with because vegetables are so healing and there's so many things in vegetables. I always tell people eat the rainbow. If you get different colors of veggies and fruits in every day, then you're getting all of the antioxidants and different micronutrients that you need. So eat more vegetables, and to be kind to themselves.
I love it. Both so amazing. And I know we tend to hyper focus on what do we need to avoid? What do we
No.
and what we bring in or need to bring in is just as important. So I love that. And there is nothing more healing than joy. So
Yeah. And get a puppy.
and get a puppy.
Get a puppy. I will say
Goes into joy.
This goes with the joy. This Nutella gets me out. She goes on 3 walks a day. So even on the days where I'm like, oh, do I want to? I have to. She's
Yeah.
got to get out there. And a puppy.
Yeah. Love it. Amazing. And for people that are listening on the go and aren't going to check the show notes, where's the best place to find you?
So I do have just a website that's jessicafalds.com. So that is the easiest way to find me at, but I do write on Substack. My Substack is Wavelengths of Chaos and Resilience, because I am very ADHD chaotic, but super resilient. I'm also just on Instagram, Jess Faulds. So Instagram and Substack, but my website is probably the simplest, and that's where I've got meal plans that people can buy. On Substack, I give free meal plans out.
Nice. Amazing. Jess, I so appreciate everything that you shared and most especially just your inspiring journey, and the gifts that you're bringing to the world, that ray of sunshine.
Yes. That's been my nickname for years, where my mom is sunshine.
well suited.
Yes.
For everyone listening, remember you can get those transcripts and show notes by visiting inspiredliving.show. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Julie Michelson's Inspired Living with Autoimmunity. Did you enjoy this episode? Please like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to get a transcript of this and every other episode, just head on over to inspiredliving.show or click on the link in this episode's description. There, you can also find everything we discussed in this episode, including links and information about our guest. You can even send in your questions to be answered by Julie in a future episode. That's inspiredliving.show. Until next time, this is Julie Michelson's Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast, helping you take your power back.